Peace, everyone. How y'all feeling?
All right.
This is powerful. I just want to thank God first and foremost for this opportunity. That's how I was raised by my mom. She's my single mother. Don't take any day for granted, and I'm just honored to be here. Cameron, you was right. OKC did get San Antonio business. I forgot about that conversation. I think it was up 2-0 when y'all were in New York, and then San Antonio just folded. Remember that? Yeah. Wow. But I want to thank Dr. Ellaby, Dr. DeLong, I know she just walked out, Mr. Moody, Mr. Montgomery, all the life coaches. Let's just give them a round of applause. And I want to say this with all humility, but I've been to 48 out of the 50 states in this country, except for Wyoming and Idaho. Those are the last 2 states. And I've been involved in black male initiatives like this around the country over the last 20-25 years. And I can count the ones that I think are very significant. And this is one of the most powerful ones that I've seen in the country. So give yourselves a round of applause. And honestly, the only other one that I've seen that has affected me like this is out of Arizona. They have something called Imasu, where they work with high school young men like some of y'all here, and they make sure they all go to Arizona State, and they have a support system at Arizona State so that they actually graduate. And many of those young men are going on to do dynamic things. And so I hope y'all realize what y'all have. I wish when I was 16, 17 years old, especially as someone who did not grow up with a father, I have not seen my father since I was 8 years old, I wish that I had some folks that looked out for me like this. I could have avoided a lot of the problems that I went through. I want to definitely acknowledge Pulaski Technical College. I've been shouting y'all out on the radio all day. You know, much respect to y'all. I talk about y'all on the Broadway Joe show. That's the morning show here on 92.3. Am I right, y'all? Yeah, then I'm going to be on the Drive Time show with Trey Day after this, and we'll definitely shout y'all out again. And definitely all of y'all here, but I especially want to acknowledge, where are the young men that were in New York this summer, in May? Let's just give them a round of applause. That's a big deal. I'm in my 40s now, y'all. I did not get on a plane until I was 24 years old. I didn't know you could get on a plane. Seriously. You know, I saw planes flying overhead. I heard people saying they go into the airport, but I didn't know. And to be able to, as you said so eloquently, Brother Cameron, you know, when you can just go somewhere, get out of your comfort zone, you know, that's important. When I was growing up, the world was the block I lived on, and maybe 5 blocks north, south, east, or west. That was my reality. You understand what I'm saying? And so this is real big what they're doing here, to be able to take y'all out of certain settings and expose you to things. Let me say this one last thing before I get into this. Everyone here is my sister and brother. Everyone here is my sister and brother. Everyone here is my sister and brother, no matter what your race, anything like that. But because of this program, I just want to start by having the black male stand up for a second. I want y'all to stand up for a second. You know, because this is important for us. And I want y'all to think about this every single day for the rest of your lives. Just repeat this after me, and I need y'all to, you know how we say in hip-hop, you got a swagger, right? And, you know, how many of y'all sports fans out there? Big sports fans like I am. I hope my Giants beat the Panthers tonight. In fact, you know, Cam Newton is no joke, right? We'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? I hope you don't do that too many times for touchdowns. But Cam Newton's a genius on the field, just like LeBron's a genius on the field, just like Kevin Durant's a genius on the field. But I want us to understand, we don't have to have a swag just when we rapping, just when we playing ball. We need to have a swag for every aspect of our lives. You know why, brothers? Repeat after me. I am a genius. Again, I am a genius. One more time. I need you to say it loud. I am a genius. Give yourselves a round of applause. Sit down. It's important that you hear that. Because I believe it. You may know some of the names that I'm going to say. Some of these names may be foreign to y'all. They have names like Sinke and Nelson Mandela. They have names like David Walker and Marcus Garvey. They have names like Dr. King, Paul Robeson, and Malcolm X. They have names like Tupac Shakur and Miles Davis. Are y'all out there with me, brothers? Yes, you know? They have names like Kanye West, who just dropped his CD the other day. Are y'all feeling me for a second? They have names like LeBron James, who's not just brilliant on the court, but he just flipped the script, and his homeboy who he grew up with is now representing him to have a co-management situation happening. Genius. You feel where I'm going with this? They have names like Muhammad Ali and Kareem Moody and Marcus Montgomery. Are y'all with me out there? I'm serious, y'all. Because a lot of times we look at people outside of our environment, we don't recognize the genius that's right with us. That's right. Right in this space. They got names like Lewis Latimer and Benjamin Banneker. Anyone that's in math and science, y'all know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, you need to look that up. They have names like W.E.B. Du Bois, Sir Eric Williams from Trinidad and Tobago, Walter Ronnie from Guyana. Y'all follow me, gentlemen? These are powerful folks out there. They got names like Little Richard and Chuck Berry. You can't talk about hip-hop without talking about rock and roll. They got names like Isaac Hayes. They got names like Derek Fisher and Joe Johnson, Arkansas representing stand-up. Am I right, y'all? You know? They got names like Eric Holder, Attorney General. They got names like Barack Obama and Jesse Jackson. Are y'all following me for a second? And they got names like, y'all, say your names out there, fellas. What's your name? That's right. Y'all are part of a tradition. Y'all are part of a tradition of greatness. And from this day forward, don't ever make peace with just doing enough to get by. Don't ever again make peace with mediocrity. There's nothing wrong with, you know, our culture, which is hip-hop, which anyone who's 40-something and younger, we all grew up on this thing. We all represented, am I right, in some form or fashion. We either got tattoos, earrings, where we wear our hair, where we wear our pants, all of that. But if someone set up here, we got to be able to balance it out and flip it. Cameron said it. You know, sometimes you wear a suit, sometimes you might wear fitteds and you sag it, but you got to be able to do it in different spaces. You feel what I'm saying, fellas? That's what I'm talking about. I sometimes think, as you were talking, Cameron, how I even made it here, seriously. You know? Forget the 11 books, forget 5 magazine, which I helped to start with a bunch of heads, forget all the interviews with Tupac Shakur, forget all of that. Single mother, absent father, poverty. That's what I come from. I don't care where you go in life, never forget where you come from. Right. I was at the Democratic National Convention a couple weeks ago, and to me the best speech was Michelle Obama. Right. You know what hit me over the head? Because she's from the south side of Chicago. She's from the hood, just like I come from the hood. She says success means nothing if you don't use it to help other people. Right. You feel me? In other words, she was saying we need to practice the Harriet Tubman theory, which is Harriet Tubman. Y'all know who Harriet Tubman was, right? The women out here, she was a bad sister. She was bad. She escaped from slavery, and she could have been like, you know what, son? I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn, y'all, so son gonna come out a few times. She could have said, I'm good. I escaped from this. But she went back and forth and helped to empower, free over 1,000 other people. Because she understood, what does it matter that I'm good if other people out there aren't doing well? Which is why this program is so incredible. Because these gentlemen who went to college, who have families of their own, could have said, you know what, I'm going to get a job that can pay me a lot more money than this, but there's something in them. The folks that are working with y'all, the older men that are working with y'all, that says, I believe in the Harriet Tubman theory. Let me go help some other folks. And so as y'all go along in your lives, it doesn't matter where you came from. I don't care if you have struggled in high school. I don't care if you got a GED. I don't care if you get on your last chance. Malcolm X was on his last chance in prison doing a 7-year bid with the 8th grade education. His education was so terrible in his own words, he couldn't even read his own handwriting. If someone would have told him when he went to prison, day one day, you're going to become such a historic figure, and you're going to be an international leader, he wouldn't have believed it. Y'all with me out there? Yeah. But some folks believed in him, and he was able to transform his life. Where did I come from? Like many of us. I mean, imagine, my mom's had me in her early 20s. She got an 8th grade education. So any of y'all who've gone past the 8th grade got a better education than many of our mothers and fathers and grandparents. Y'all realize that? That's right. That's why we can't take education for granted. My mother's grade level really is probably like a 5th or 6th grade education. Because by the time I got to the 5th or 6th grade, guess who couldn't even help me with my homework anymore? My mom's. My father was at least 10, 12 years older than my mother. Met her, my mother fell in love with him. He fell in lust with her, got her pregnant. We're going to talk about manhood and our responsibilities later. And didn't even have the decency to be at the hospital when I was born. Are y'all with me out there? Yeah. Yes, sir. My mother, and this is how powerful women are of all backgrounds. Women are gangster. When her water broke, she called a cab and put herself in a cab to go to the hospital so she could have me. Who does that? I want y'all to think about that for a second. She has me, She has to raise me, and she's struggling on welfare, food stamps, government cheese, and the kind of poverty I wouldn't wish on anybody. And so when I heard Mr. Romney, who's running for president right now, y'all know what I'm talking about, say that there's certain people who are just dependent on the government. Just basically, they've been saying this for the last 25, 30 years. Some people just trying to get over, nah, son, it ain't like that. My mother was poor, my grandparents were poor, my great-grandparents were poor. It's like the poverty's passed from generation to generation. We ain't trying to hustle nobody. It's not that we're not intelligent. It's that, man, wait a minute. We just trying not to sink up in this piece, y'all. You feel me? You know, we trying to ride, not die. I would not be standing here if it wasn't for welfare and food stamps and government cheese and a financial aid package and yes, those refund checks to help me go to college. I wouldn't be standing here. And to me, the point of my life, for any of us who've gone through that, is not so we can ride off the government. We get a chance and then we turn around, let's help as many people as we can to get an opportunity as well. Are y'all with me out there? Unfortunately, I also had to deal with the violence all around me. How many of y'all know about violence out there? We had a bloody summer in Brooklyn this summer, man. I mean, gunshots everywhere. I remember in one 2-day period, I lived right across the street from Fort Greene Projects. If anyone's a real old school basketball fan, y'all heard of Bernard King and Albert King. They come from the projects where I lived by. Man, let me tell you something. One dude gets murdered 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The retaliation probably happened by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just nothing but yellow tape on the streets. That's where I grew up, you know? The only difference in my time is that we didn't have guns so easily available to shoot each other. So we fought, but we fought viciously. I've seen people get stabbed to death. I've seen people run over. I've seen people get beat up upside the head with a baseball bat like they was a cartoon character and the big knot came out of their head. Now, it's funny, but then again, it's not funny because we're doing it to each other because we've been brainwashed into believing that I'm nothing, I'm worthless, and therefore when I look in the mirror, I'm going to smash that mirror with either you or you or you. Y'all let me out there. And then we end up fighting over stuff that has no significance really to our lives. Colors, my block versus your block, my building versus your building, my project versus your project, my part of Little Rock versus your part of Little Rock, my part of Brooklyn versus your part of Brooklyn. Feel where I'm going with this, fellas? That was my mindset. And then on top of that, like so many of us, I had a bad temper. Everybody got a bad temper out there? They call it anger management issues. And what I'm saying, y'all, as black males, we don't want to manage the anger. Let's begin to get to the root causes of the anger. Well, what are the root causes for many of us? You just heard my story. Single mother who's poor and we're struggling. I'm angry about that. I'm like, man, we stuck here. You know, I'm being told everywhere I go as a young man, even though I was a good student in school, you'll be lucky if you make it to 14. You'll be lucky if you make it to 18. You'll be lucky if you make it to 21. You might make it to 25. And then they constantly, as Brother Montgomery said to me in an email, all you get are these negative statistics about black males. 1 out of 4 of y'all going to be in the prison system, the criminal justice system. I want y'all to think about that for a second. I remember doing a speech, being at a speech I was about to deliver in Florida a couple years ago. And the person who came up before me meant well, but she went through every negative statistic for black males. Everything that you could think of that was negative. When I got up there, she even had charts and graphs and all kinds of stuff. And I said, man, if I had listened to all that stuff that you're saying when I was 15, 16 years old, 20 years old, 25 years old, I would have just given up. And so what I'm saying to y'all, even with all this stuff going on around us, we got to figure out a way to turn this stuff around because otherwise we become what people say we are. Are you with me, fellas? And that's unacceptable. Not managing anger. What's the root cause? It's single mother. I was angry at my father. How many of y'all grew up without a daddy? Just be honest about it. How many of us have had father anger? Absent father anger. That's real talk. That was part of it for me. And then part of it is because I didn't know how I could do it. It's like, man, what am I going to do with my life? How do I get out of this situation? You know what I'm saying? 3 things saved my life, fellas and ladies. 1, a belief in a higher power, in God, or what we call faith. Dr. King once said that faith is taking steps even if you can't see the stairs. Y'all with me out there? Yeah. Faith is taking steps even if you cannot see the stairs. I know I can do something with my life. I know it's possible. And if you begin to read and you start to learn who Sankey and Marcus Garvey and Du Bois and Robeson and all these folks were, you know, Muhammad Ali, he didn't say I'm a genius, he said I'm what? The greatest. Even when they laughed at him and ridiculed him and said he was crazy and just had a big mouth, because he had self-esteem that was high, fellas, not low. Y'all with me out there? So even if you don't think anything is possible, I know it's possible. And what did he do? When he won that championship in 1964, he said, I shocked the world. And he was so gangster, he started pointing at all the reporters who had read negative stuff. You and you and you and you. But he didn't stop there, because he was also a socially conscious black male. A couple years later, he said when they drafted him for Vietnam, the Viet Cong ain't never caught me in NIGGA. This man was in his 20s, y'all. If he was in his 20s today, he'd be part of the hip-hop era. He was hip-hop. Because the essence of hip-hop is of being, you know, making something out of nothing, winning on your own terms, fellas. That's what it is. So faith. Number 2. How far did I say my mother went to school, y'all? 8th grade. But guess what? Just like your mama and your auntie and Nana and folks around us, she had a vision. My mother has never read a whole book in her life. You know, she goes to church, she's been going to church as long as I know, so people read the Bible in passages, right? But for the time I was a little boy, and she never set foot on a college campus, she kept saying to me, you're going to go to college, 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 you're going to go to college. So we got to have a vision for ourselves. Something that Cameron said, and it was so brilliant and so honest. I appreciate what you said. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But at some point, if you expose yourself to different things, if you read, if you study, if you start to listen to all kinds of music, and not just certain kinds of music, over and over again, your brain starts to expand, and you say, you know what, we could do something here. Now, my mom's was born in 1943, which means she was a young woman during the Civil Rights Movement. So as the Little Rock 9, Arkansas, y'all, and the sit-ins and the freedom rides were happening, it affected her. And even though she didn't march and protest any of that stuff, she understood, because these black people in the South, she's from South Carolina, had the courage to say, you know what, I don't care if you put water hoses on me, sick dogs on me, I don't care if you stand in the doorway of these schools, I'm still going to do something with my life. And I'm saying to y'all, if those young people who are no different than y'all in 2012 could say, I'm going to go through that, what are we going to do? Where's our vision at? And it can't just be, I'm going to be a ball player, I'm going to be a rapper, or a hustler. Because what I find when I go to every ghetto in America, we aspire as black males to be 3 things, because this is what we are exposed to, or what we've exposed ourselves to. Ball player, hustler, or rapper. I'm not about knocking no one's dreams, but I'm saying if you're going to be a ball player, be the kind of ball player Magic Johnson was. Not only was he gangster on the court winning 5 championships, but he understood, because they had the phenomenon called Showtime with the Los Angeles Lakers back in the 80s. All these very wealthy people, well-connected people, networkers, were coming to the games. He began having conversations with them and picking their brain, because he's saying to himself, I don't want to be like most football players and most basketball players who make millions of dollars, that within 3, 5, maybe 10 years, they're all broke. And so he learned, without even going to college, business, and he's one of the most successful entrepreneurs our community has ever produced. But he said to me, I talked to Magic about a year or so ago, because we were trying to help another athlete, a football player, who had gotten into some trouble, had spent some time in jail. He said most of these heads don't read, don't study, don't know how to handle money. And so when we see all these folks flossing in the videos, flossing at parties in Little Rock or New York, wherever they at, you got to ask yourself a simple question. Do they even know where their money's going to be in 10 years? Where's your vision? What's your plan? What's your plan for your life? Not all of them going to get jobs on ESPN as commentators. Number 3, what saved my life is why we're here. It's called an education, y'all. It's called an education. It's called an education. It's called an education. I don't know how to say it. We got to read, we got to study. We got to read, we got to study. We got to read, we got to study. I love sports. I cannot wait till the Panthers and the Giants play tonight. It's going to be a good game. I'm rooting for my Yankees. We got a game lead on the Baltimore Orioles. You feel what I'm going? I live down the street from the Brooklyn Nets. I'm happy that they did, and they got some players like Joe Johnson from Arkansas playing for them. You with me, y'all? But I also carry a book everywhere I go. When I was on a plane getting ready for this today, I got newspapers, I got magazines, and I got my books. My iPhone, yeah, I got it set to MTV and BT, but I got Associated Press, CNN, CNN International, BBC, all that, because I want to know what's going on in the world. Okay, Chicago teacher strike. What's going on in the Middle East? What's happening in Syria? What's going on with the Israelis and the Palestinians? You feel where I'm going? Why is there so much blood and murder in Chicago right now? What's going on in New York City? We got to know what's happening here, y'all. That's important. And education for me is two things. One, y'all go to school to get an education. I'm going to be straight up with y'all. As much as I love Facebook and Twitter, you can tell how uneducated so many of us are in America right now by how we talk on Facebook and Twitter. People can't spell. And this is all people, not just, it's all people. People can't spell. People can't construct basic sentences. I'm serious, this is not funny. And then you want to go out and get a job. I had people interning with me this summer. This one young lady knew the lyrics to every single song on the radio. Every day. That came on, she just started bouncing to it. I was like, all right, you know the lyrics to all these songs. You got 2 Chainz down pat. You got this one down pat. I asked her to send out a simple email for me, y'all, to a friend. I said, I want you to represent me. The email was so bad and embarrassing. And get this young lady is about to graduate from college with a degree in December. I called her college, Mr. Moody. I said to her advisors, y'all should not give this young lady a college degree because you're setting her up for failure. Where is she going to get a job where she can't even write? I'm not expecting you to be a writer like me. I write books. But if you can't construct a sentence, if you can't articulate what you're feeling, as Mr. Moody said, using your voice, you're in trouble. And so in education, it's not just going to school and getting a high school diploma, getting a degree. It's understanding that you are a student for the rest of your life, y'all. A student for the rest of your life. Education is everything that shapes you, which means you got to be willing to be exposed to stuff. You know what I mean? It's like every black male here, you should not let this year go out, 2012, without, if you've never read the autobiography of Malcolm X, you got to read that book cover to cover. Don't tell me it's too long. Don't tell me it's 500 pages. Just read the book. Make a commitment to yourself. Put down the video games, put down ESPN for a second, make a commitment to reading a book. A lot of heads say, well, these books are corny. Malcolm X's book is definitely not corny. Trust me on that. You want to see your life? Read Malcolm's autobiography. You know what I mean? He grew up poor. His father was murdered by the Klan when he was a little boy. The Klan basically said to his father, who was a follower of Marcus Garvey, I'm not even going to tell y'all who Marcus Garvey was. Y'all look it up. But he was a bad black man back in the day. They didn't like it, and so they put Malcolm X's father on a railroad track, and his body got split in half by a train. Y'all feel what I'm saying here? Malcolm's mother and father had 8 or 9 kids. She's now raising them as a single mother by herself. Guess what happened to Malcolm X's mother? She had a nervous breakdown. She collapsed under the weight of it. Anybody ever been through foster care? Anybody know who foster care is, right? What do y'all call it here in Arkansas? Foster care. Malcolm X ended up, it just means his family got split up. The kids got sent to different places. Different places. This is his life. He said we were so hungry we would eat the whole out of a donut. Now that's hungry, because is there anything in the middle of a donut? That's real hungry. And y'all know the rest of the story. He ended up being out on the streets, hustling, slinging dope, running guns, running women, all kinds of stuff. Got busted, went to jail for 7 years. But it was in jail, coming out of education, because the real education is self-education, where Malcolm, after his first year, where he was just angry, he was so angry in prison his first year, his nickname was Satan. What does Satan mean, y'all? The devil. The devil. But somehow or another, a mentor, an older man, an older black man named Bimby got to him and said, I see something in you. That's why I said all of y'all are geniuses at the beginning of this thing. I see something in you. And he started hipping Malcolm to the importance of reading. Malcolm, as I said earlier, couldn't even read his own handwriting, and he didn't know where to start. So what did he start with, y'all? Who knows what he started with? Say it loud if you say it loud.
Dictionary.
Dictionary. What was the first word he came across in that dictionary? Anyone know? No, say it.
Aardvark.
Aardvark, letter A. Aardvark. He read the whole dictionary. Because you got a lot of free time in prison, don't you? But you know what? Some of us who ain't in prison are in prison. Because if you don't read, you in prison. If you don't study, you in prison. If you don't take education seriously, you in prison. If you don't take opportunities, which like what's being set up here, your mind is in prison. You don't got to be behind bars. Some of the freest people I've ever met in my life are in jail right now. But they take education seriously. And what I'm saying to y'all, if Malcolm X could do it, if he can come from the bottom of society and transform his life, anything is possible. I'm going to tell y'all straight up. That's what an education is to me. You know, it's not just getting a piece of paper. It's like I'm going to do everything I can to know what's going on. Even though I took education seriously, I still stumbled many times. I went to 4 grammar schools and 3 high schools. Because I said I had what kind of problem when I was coming up, y'all? Anger. I was fighting all the time. By the time I was a teenager, I was getting arrested by the police. A couple times, they was trying to send me to juvenile detention center. My mother was always there. Always did. I really believe the only thing that saved my life, there was a judge, a black woman judge. She died a couple years ago, rest in peace, named Shirley Tolentino. She saw how much my mother was fighting for me, not to have me go down that path, and she gave me a break. I don't know why she did it, she just did it. The second time I caught a break, I was actually in college. I ain't had no business doing what I was doing, but, you know, if anyone has ever stolen, you know what I'm talking about. Being a thief is kind of like being, you kind of addicted to it. I'm on a break from school. And one of my boys who I used to rob people with, because we used to rob people, why lie? We will be honest here today, right, y'all? Real talk. His name is Dawu. I don't know what happened to him. I haven't seen him since. He said, yo, Kev, we're going to go hit up this store. You know, he used to steal stuff. He had a whole system in place. And think about the intelligence it takes to sell dope or to steal stuff. Imagine if you flip that intelligence to something that's actually legal and that's proactive. Y'all feel what I'm saying? He had a whole system in place. And we were walking up the street from the store, and there was a third cat with us named Stretch. Stretch got caught at the store by security. Darryl and I are walking. Darryl looks back. He says, yo, the police coming. Me being naive, I turn around and freeze. I look back around, Darryl's gone. The police car jumped up, the unmarked police car jumped up on the curb and pinned me against the wall of a gas station. Brought me back to the store. Me and Stretch are now in the security office. This is how God works. I had a college ID, Stretch had a college ID. There was a black man, an older black man who was the head security. He looked at us, he said, wait a minute, you both go to college? I was like, we were like, yeah. He said, what are y'all doing? And we couldn't even answer the question because we didn't know, because we was just ignorant. He said, you know what, I'm going to let y'all go, but I don't want to ever see y'all again. He didn't have to tell me that twice, because I realized, now this is during the crack era, y'all. That's my generation. And I can't tell you how many of my friends were in the wrong place at the wrong time that caught a bid of 5, 10, 15, 20 years because they happened to be in the wrong place. Think what could have happened to me. And these are only a couple of the stories I'm telling you about. I'm not even talking about the times I've got jumped by people. Y'all with me out there? Yeah. The times I've slept in bathtubs on floors, the times I had nowhere to live at all. I can go on and on and on. And so what I'm getting at is that if you're given that many opportunities, Albert Einstein, great genius, said that insanity is doing the same stuff over and over again and expecting a different result. Insanity is doing the same stuff over and over again and expecting a different result. I said, man, I got to stop stealing. I got to let that go. You know what I mean? When I was growing up, I was stealing because honestly we were hungry. We wanted some cupcakes. We wanted some chips. I'm like, the stakes are higher now. You in college. Look what you about to throw away. And so what I'm getting at, fellas, is that we gotta, as Marcus said to me in the email, we gotta step up. What I think we need to do, and I'm gonna wrap it up here so y'all can talk. One, how many of y'all love to eat food? Just make some noise if you love to eat food. Y'all don't really like to eat food. You really like to eat food? He said, look at his stomach, son. Well, how many of y'all love to read books? If you're honest, how many of y'all love to read books? Now, I want y'all to think about that for a second. You heard that enthusiasm for food? Yeah. Where's that enthusiasm for education? That's the problem right there. What happens if you don't eat for a day, a couple of days, a week, a month? What happens to you? You die. So what happens if you don't take your education seriously? What happens to your brain? And your world becomes very limited. Very limited. Very limited. That's what I'm talking about. Back to the trip to New York, we got to travel. How old was I when I said I got on a plane for the first time? Man, I thought that planes weren't even for people like me. That's what I had been conditioned to believe. Just the Greyhound bus, or you get in a car and you drive down south. That was it. First time I got on a plane, I went to Vermont, of all places. I was like, man, ain't no black folks in Vermont. But you know what? I went anyway. I said, let me go somewhere I've never been before. And I'm looking at all the trees and the grass, and I was like, this is deep. Just like how y'all felt about New York City, that's how I felt about going on a plane for the first time. It was mind-blowing. And so what I'm saying to y'all, fellas, y'all gotta go somewhere. You know? Even if you've never, I mean, in New York City, people think New York is so sophisticated, and I love New York. There are people in Brooklyn who ain't never been to Harlem. There are people in Harlem who ain't never been to Brooklyn. We're the same city. I remember a couple years ago, I took an 18-year-old man that I was mentoring, Brother Moody, on a subway ride, A train from Brooklyn. We got to 125th Street. He said, man, this is the first time I've ever seen the Apollo in person. I'm like, you from New York. But if you're conditioned, if you've been brainwashed to think that this is your world right here and this is it, you get trapped. So that's one. Number two, be willing to have conversations that are not just about sports or sex or music or parties. Anybody can do that. You know someone is limited intellectually, mentally, if all they talk about is sex and sports and money and party. Now, who don't want money? I want money, but that's not going to be the only thing that I talk about. I want us to begin to expand that. I want y'all to think about your present and your future. We can't change our past. We can't change our past, but what we can do is control where we are now. Am I right, y'all? Right. We can do that. We can do that. How do you do that? You got to know our history. We got to know our history. When I did get to college, I discovered the E185 section of the library. That's where all the black books are. And again, as I said at the beginning, I love all people. I don't care if you're black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, doesn't matter to me. I love all people. We're all sisters and brothers. I'm real clear about that. However, we are never going to come to the table of the human family or so-called diversity. If you don't know what you bring to the table, black men, what are you bringing to the table? We can't just say I got some soul food and I got some hip-hop. It got to be a lot deeper than that. You know what I mean? And so we got to know ourselves. And if you know yourselves, brothers, then you'll be less likely to refer to each other as niggas all the time. I know we don't want to hear that, but I can always tell how much someone likes or doesn't like themselves by how often they use the word N-I-G-G-A in public, on Twitter, on Facebook, like it's their first name. When I'm playing ball back in New York City, everyone's back, nigga this, nigga that. I'm like, yo, if you understand the history of racism in this country, which was not created by you, it was created by someone else, to oppress you, to marginalize you, one of the best ways to do that is to name you something and then have you believe that you can take it and call yourself that. That's called a slave mentality, fellas. That's called a slave mentality. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's called. And if you have a slave mentality, then you actually believe that you're using a word that's destructive, and it has everything to do with people being hung from trees, or Trayvon Martin getting blown down with some Skittles in his hand. Or the way people talk about President Barack Obama like he's just nothing. And we participate in that. We got to think about this. It means that we got to understand the difference between hip-hop culture and hip-hop, the industry. How many of y'all listen to hip-hop out there? Seriously. What's culture, y'all? Who knows what culture is? Definitely a way of life. What else is hip-hop? What is culture? What's culture? What's culture? Say that again? It's who you are.
It's your world around you, pretty much. Like what you were born, raised in, what you know, what culture, you know what I'm saying? What's going on around you, pretty much.
Yeah. So if I'm Italian, if I'm Jewish, if I'm African American, I got a culture, right? If I'm Mexican, I got a culture, right? If I'm Polish, I got a culture. And if I'm a hip-hop head, I got a culture, right? Am I right? Can you look, look around the room. Dreadlocks, braids, high top fade, the same thing we were doing back in the late 80s, early 90s. The hip style has come back. You know what I mean? The way we wear our fitted baseball caps, that's part of the culture, right? So culture can be the way we talk. I'm from New York. What up, son? You know what I mean? All right? You know? That's how we talk up there. Y'all got a way of talking in Little Rock, right? Hip-hop culture, 5 elements. What are the 5 elements of hip-hop culture? It was created mostly by males. African-American, West Indian, and Latino males created hip-hop culture. Never forget our Latino sisters and brothers. They had a big hand in creating and perpetuating what is called hip-hop culture. What's the 5 elements of hip-hop culture?
The MC.
Thank you. The DJ, he knows his history. Say the last one?
B-boy.
B-boys, or we call it the dance element, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it might be B-boy, and it might be doing the stinky leg or doing the Dougie, am I right? Dancing. And what's the 4th element?
I'm lost now.
Anyone can help?
Yeah, the graffiti.
Graffiti. And then, according to Africa Bambaataa, one of the 3 founding fathers of hip-hop, along with who the other 2, y'all? No, they were before Run DMC. Before Curtis Blow. There's Africa Bambaataa. Before Cool Herc. That's what I'm talking about. How we gonna know? How we gonna listen to 2 Chainz, Weezy, Kanye? Who we listen to? We don't even know who created what we listening to. Black males, we created this. I'll be in communities of white sisters and brothers or Asian sisters and brothers. They know the history of hip hop better than we do. Just like they know the history of the blues and rock and roll better than we do, and we created that as well, and jazz too. You feel where I'm going with this? They studying, and we taking it for granted. The DJ, MC, graffiti writing, dance element, then the 5th element of hip-hop, you go to college to get something that starts with a K. Knowledge. 5 elements of hip-hop. Created by Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa, and Grandmaster Flash. That's hip-hop. Hip-hop is fashion, it's the way we talk, it's a way of life. Everything that I do, even if I don't call it hip-hop, it's hip-hop. The way I hustle is hip-hop. The way I flow is hip-hop. You feel what I'm saying? When I came into the building today, who did I meet? Someone that represents MC Hodge, right? I met someone who gave me 3 CDs. That's hip-hop. Yo, son, I got these CDs. I'd like you to check out. I got a company, blah, blah, blah. That's hip-hop. The industry, which is a problem. How many of y'all ever heard of minstrel show? Who knows what a minstrel show is? What's a minstrel show?
Oh, it's something from the 20s and earlier that was a show that featured, it was a variety talk show.
Anyone else? Thank you.
It'd be a play where...
Speak up, sir, please.
It'd be a play where white actors would dress up in blackface.
That's right. Dress up in blackface. What would they do? Anyone? Say that nice and loud.
Impersonate black people.
Impersonate black people? How so?
Put red lipstick around their lips.
Put red lipstick around their lips. Like Nicki Minaj does? No. I'm just saying. Paint their faces black. And what else would they do? What else would they do at minstrel shows? Dance. How would they dance? Shuck and jive? What does shuck and jive mean? What does that mean? Did you say shuck and jive? That's right, but what does it mean? Can someone help? Because we're a community here, we're networking here, right? What does shuck and jive mean? Minstrel show. What does that mean? Anyone up there?
To move around.
To move around how? Exaggerated. Ah. I see. You see where I'm going with this? So for those who don't know, how many of y'all were born in America, just by a show of hands? How many of y'all American citizens? Most of us here are American citizens, right? One of the big problems with our country, I love our country, I was born and raised here, I will die here. Most of us don't know basic American history. I see this all over the country. Why? Because we don't read, we don't study. We don't read, we don't study. She was right, minstrel show in the 20s, but not the 1920s, actually it started in the 1820s. It was the #1 entertainment in America for at least 100 years. It was the Twitter of his day. It was the Facebook of his day. It was the TMZ of his day, y'all. It was Fuse and BT, all of that rolled into one of his day. Y'all feel where I'm going with this? And he's right, the gentleman in the back, that you would see our white sisters and brothers, especially our white brothers, impersonating black males, black people, with exaggerated antics or shucking and jiving. And we were depicted as over-sexualized, follow where I'm going with this for a second, violent, dangerous, and of little or no morals. You feel I'm going with this? Then you fast forward to the 1890s, turn of the last century, the early 1900s. Was there TV yet, y'all? Was there radio really the way we know it now yet, y'all? Nope. Guess what there was? There was newspapers, and in those newspapers there was something called cartoons, and those cartoons often depicted us as over-sexualized, violent, dangerous, and no morals. Then you fast forward to someone named D.W. Griffith. Anyone ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Who was D.W. Griffith?
He made a movie called History.
Birth of a Nation.
Yeah, Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation, 1914. This movie was so successful, it was like the Batman of his day. But guess what? The movie basically was a minstrel show. You all, black males, were being depicted in 1914, at the height of World War I, as violent, over-sexualized, dangerous, no morals. And that, by the way, at that time, you also were being hung from trees quite a bit. I'm just saying. Then you fast forward to the movies that the sister with the blonde hair just referenced, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. Practically every major white actor you could think of, from Bing Crosby to Al Jolson, painted their faces black at some point or another in a movie. Then you fast forward to the blaxploitation era, the Mac and Superfly. Y'all know what I'm talking about now, right? Because a lot of our hip-hop references the Mac and Superfly. I love them movies. Those movies are gangster. You know what I mean? However, have you noticed that most of those movies we were gangsters or thugs or players? Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Then you fast forward to hip-hop over the last 15 years or so. I interviewed Tupac Shakur more than any other writer when he was alive. Any of y'all Tupac fans out there? I was in Vegas when Pac died on September 13, 96. Tupac was brilliant. He read books. He studied. This man could reference Shakespeare and he could represent what was going on in the gutter. He could do both because he was well-rounded. He said to me in one interview, Kev, I wanted Thug Life to be positive, but the record labels told me that this doesn't sell. Oh, really? And you know what they say, oh, if no one's buying it, then it's not hot. Well, if the radio stations are not playing it, how you going to hear it to buy it? Am I right, y'all? You feel where I'm going with this? And at a certain point, after Pac is dead, after Biggie's dead, it started in the 90s, but most of the stuff we started hearing coming out of our culture, which became the industry, over-sexualized, violent, dangerous, no morals, everybody's a gangster or thug. Even heads that's not really from the hood. All of a sudden everybody's hard. You feel what I'm saying? I mean, when I was growing up, and older heads vouched for me here, we wanted to get out of the ghetto. Now everybody's trying to run back into the ghetto, but not to help the ghetto, but to be dangerous to the ghetto. Y'all feel I'm going? So, we need to understand what's going on. And I'm going to leave it at this, fellas. I love hip-hop. I love hip-hop. I'm a hip-hop head for life. No question. No question. However, I'm not an NIGGA, and nor do I view women as BITCHs. I'm also clear that hip-hop didn't create this. This country wasn't just founded on racism, it was also founded on sexism. Sexism. And so, we can't go around thinking that we're somehow free and empowered as men, and we disrespect women and girls. Y'all out there with me, fellas? And I've had men say to me, if you're really a man, you wouldn't say this kind of stuff. Well, what if she acts a certain kind of way? Even if someone has low self-esteem, male or female, the worst thing you can do if you actually are a leader and a real man is to get down there with them and just wallow in the ignorance with them. Are y'all with me, fellas? Because we got enough problems in our communities already. That's what I'm talking about. And so we need y'all to be men. And what's a man? Let's open this up. What's a man? What's a man?
Responsible for their actions.
Who said that? Say it nice and loud, sir. That's a great answer.
Someone responsible for their actions.
Can you give me an example of something someone does that they need to be responsible for?
Their health.
Their health?
Their education.
Their education.
Their kids.
Thank you. My daddy was not responsible for me.
Finances.
Wow. Their finances. So maybe I don't need that SUV if I'm still living in the projects, right?
Right.
Okay. Don't need that Denali if you're living in the projects. You don't need 5 flat screen TVs if you're still living in the hood and struggling otherwise.
Why do we have problems anyway?
I call them permanents. What else is a man? What's a man? You got all these men here and no one knows what a man is?
A positive role model.
A positive role model. What does that mean to you, sir?
They mean somebody that I can look up to keep me on the right track.
When you're looking for a positive role model, what are you looking for? What do you want to see in that older man? Is your father in your life?
Yes, sir.
Good. What do you see in him that you want to emulate?
Well, he's struggling right now, but
that's all right.
That makes me like want to further go on my education.
Okay. Okay.
And I also go to Spark. Which Lanier, he helps me out with anything I need.
So he's a role model. You talking?
Right there.
Mr. Lanier, okay.
Yes, sir.
So a role model helps you if you need help.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else? Role model? Yes, sir.
Somebody paving the way for the future.
Say that nice and loud.
Somebody paving the way for the future.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Someone who could tell me one thing not to do, but not tell me to go ahead and do what they say.
Did y'all hear him over here? Can you say nice and loud?
Someone who could tell me something not to do, and not turn around and go do it themselves. Like they tell me, man, don't turn around and act like that.
Come on up here, because I want you to hear you. Mr. Moody at the beginning said that we need to use our voices, and so if we really believe in, y'all believe in yourselves? We gotta speak nice and loud, real serious. Say it up here, sir.
Okay, the type of role model I want is someone that could tell me not to do something and not turn around and do it themselves. Like say, if I get into it with someone and he tell me, man, just calm down, stay humble, don't entertain that thought. But you turn around, you at the gas station, and somebody says something to you and you squaring up with it. So how am I supposed to take you for that if you can't even do it yourself?
Trayvon, let's get Trayvon to the next point. I'm gonna tell you, we being honest here with each other as men, right?
Yes.
About 10 years ago or so, I was doing a lot of work in New York City, black male gatherings, just like this, what y'all doing here. And I had a bad day. And I should have gone home, but instead I went to a club. Saw a dude I had conflict with in the 90s, this is now the 2000s, early 2000s. Guess what happened? We got into it in the club. In the middle of us being separated, a younger brother came up to me. He said, man, I was at one of your town hall meetings for black males. You said not to do this. What are you doing? And that hurt me more than anything that could have happened in that fight. Y'all feel what I'm saying? If you say you about something, then as a man, you got to struggle to be about it. And if you make mistakes, own your mistakes. Isn't that what a man should do too? If you make mistakes, own your mistakes. What else is a man, fellas?
Leader.
A leader. I'm coming back to you. What's a leader, sir?
He leads by example. As you just said, I'm not going to tell you do one thing and do the opposite. Whatever I'm telling you to do, I'm going to show you.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Back
sir.
it up. Action speaks louder than words.
Action speaks louder than words. What, can I stay with you for a second? What else does a leader mean to you?
Well, in order to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower.
And what's a follower then?
An individual that pays attention to what's his surroundings.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Y'all paying attention to all of this? The point is, like, all the answers we need are right in our hands, right in this room. Who was over there that said something about, what's a man? Someone said responsible. I heard that word.
For community.
For a community? Can you break that down, sir?
Well, I mean, being conscious of the imprint that you leave on your community. You know, a lot of the same things that everybody is saying is being put out there, but in the mode of community, you know, as far as trying to build the community as opposed to, you know, tearing the community up and to destroy the inhabitants in the community.
How many of y'all just seen Scarface in New Jack City? I mean, you know, we was cheering. Who wrote the movie? Who wrote the screenplay for Scarface? Anybody ever bothered to read the credits? See, that's part of the problem right there. We just watched it. And, did y'all have this phenomenon in Little Rock, in New York for a hot minute? Everybody was wearing Scarface T-shirts. Right. You know that too? No one knows who wrote the movie Scarface.
Oliver Stone.
Say that nice and loud.
Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone. Now, who knows who Oliver Stone is?
The director,
He did. What was the other movie he did? Platoon. Who said JFK? You right about Platoon, JFK. Oliver Stone created Scarface not for us to emulate Scarface, but it was a morality tale. What's a morality tale, y'all?
Something for us to learn from.
Something you can learn from. What did you say?
Try to demonstrate morals.
Morals. How did Scarface die?
Got high on his own supply.
Got high on his own supply. Wow, I mean, that's well said. That's what happened. Say hello to my little friend. He was off the chain, right? Say that again.
Live by the sword, he died by the sword.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Greed.
Say that?
Greed.
Greed. Can you break that down for a second? What is greed? And why is that shouldn't be a part of our manhood definition?
Greed to me is you can have a surplus of something, but when you, I guess, take advantage of it and misuse or abuse it, you're being greedy. So, you know, you be thankful for what you have, and then you can bless others with it. Share your wealth, I guess you can say.
Share your wealth. Someone over here, I don't know if they're still here, talked about the financial part of it. How many of y'all know anything about money? Like really know something about money? Finances. So can someone break it? Any financial persons here? Can break it down? Like how do you handle money? Yes, sir. In the orange. Can you speak up, sir?
The way you handle money is basically how you think. Basically, if you have $1 million, you can, it's a way for you to always have money. In order to stay with it, you would have to take at least half of that, which is $2.5 million, invest it into something that's going to...
What's that word you said? Invest?
Invest.
Yes, sir.
You invest into something that's going to bring back water. And all of us in here has the ability to make wealth. God has given all of us that. So if we don't use that, it's going to be taken away. Somebody else.
On that note, what's the name of the black man who was the first black billionaire in this country? Anyone know? Not Bob Johnson. He's not the first, but that's not a bad answer though. That's a good answer. Who? Not Tiger Woods. He ain't there with Tiger Woods, LeBron James. No, he had nothing to do with sports actually. Anyone know? No, not. Yeah, he worked in the food industry.
Was he a farmer?
No, he manufactured things. Reginald Lewis. Reginald Lewis. Have anyone ever heard of him? Okay. Reginald Lewis. Let me say this. It's real basic to me now. What magazine did I say I helped to build and work at? Well, guess what happened in 1996, the year Tupac got killed? I got fired in May of that year. I was balling for 4 years in the industry hard. Yeah, balling like that. When I got fired, I had nothing to show for except for my CDs and a stereo. I had a 401k plan. I even rated that because I was financially illiterate or ignorant. Y'all feel what I'm saying? Say that again? I wasn't saving anything. Gone. Anyone remember Allen Iverson for the Sixers? Yes, sir. He's not in a good place, right? Antoine Walker from the Celtics. Vince Young. There's a whole bunch. A lot of it. What happens? Our manhood definition is tied to material stuff. Y'all feel where I'm going with this? And if your manhood definition is tied to material stuff, and you're not. What's that word, brother? What's your name, the artist? Yes, sir.
Invest.
That's the most important word. But it's back to reading and studying. If you don't read and study, like how many of us actually read the Wall Street Journal or any financial magazines? Yes, sir.
Wall Street, but I mean, I do read different literature. I was in the military, so they taught us, quite a bit, about financing and investing. So I was just at the bank before coming here, trying to get a CD.
Some of the smartest folks I know have military backgrounds, but you taught the basics of life.
Yeah, but I think it should be in the community too,
Yeah.
It's being taught in the church, but those people that don't go to church, such as up here at Pulaski Technical, things like that, something should be offered to the community that's not literally going to school here, but can come up here and maybe, get a lecture like this on some, aspects of finances to build up the community. Because I mean, I'm going to school right now, but I want to open up a business with some of this, grant and loan money that I'm currently getting. And I need somebody to mentor me and steer me in the right direction.
Y'all hear that? Who live here?
So let me just interject. I don't want you to stop. I want to interject. We have to let Fair and McClellan have to get back to school before the bell rings at 3:45. But before you guys leave, real quick, I want to plant a seed for what's to come. Now, real quick, we talked about, just you guys being here, and I appreciate that. But one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to build that success pipeline. And what I mean by that is we're trying to do things with you now while you're in high school so that you can transition on to college or on to whatever the next move, preferably is college. But what we need from you, and the reason you were hand-selected, and you notice there's a bunch of people at the school, but you guys were hand-selected based on your relationship with that career coach. And so what we're going to do is just like we did last time, just like we said we would. And I want to emphasize that because y'all made it a point to say, if you keep coming back, we'll keep showing up. Well, we said we were going to come back 5 times. I think we came back 6 or 7 times, mentoring in the school. The guys from the network, the students here, came to those schools. Y'all remember that? Just make sure I'm seeing blank faces. Y'all remember that? Raise your hand if you remember. You know what I'm talking about. All right? Now, when we came to those schools, we were able to pull students out. So right now, who else? Summer Bridge. Who else? Jonathan, anybody represent you?
Not from Fair and McClellan that I see here.
All right, well, stay there for a second. Summons was there at Fair last year when we came out. Jesse, you too, from McClellan. Jesse was there at McClellan when we came out to have the conversation, and just like everybody else, they weren't really interested in what we had to say, as Summons would tell you. But now they're enrolled at Pulaski Tech. They already have 3 college hours. They have 3 credits. When they showed up this summer, they started the school year with 3 college hours already. And now they're enrolled as college students. And they're coming back to your schools this year to do the same thing. What we need from you is for you to spread the words of what you heard today, what you feel about the network. So when we show up on campus, I'm just saying we don't want you to act like you don't know us. Is that all right? And it's going to be the guys in this room, the guys that are in the network. They're coming back. They're trying to touch and they're trying to pull so that you don't end up in a situation. Because here's the thing that that really is near and dear to my heart. A lot of these guys that we deal with are dealing with trouble because they have felonies. Multiple felonies. There's a guy that was 6 felonies. And it's hard to help you when you got that ball and chain tied around your leg. And so what we're trying to do now, they want to come back and share their stories with you. We need you to help make the school hear us. We need you to talk to your buddies. We're trying to establish this accountability in your high schools. All right, we need guys to listen when we come. And we just want the serious ones. Everybody's not serious. We want the serious guys. And we need your help in helping us plug in. There'll be other events that we're going to invite y'all to be a part of because you are now officially a part of the network. If you don't like what I'm talking about, I don't mean to push myself on you. Let your coach know, look, I don't like that dude. I don't like what they're talking about. Don't call me no more. And we'll leave you alone. But don't tell your homeboy to do the same thing. Let him decide for himself. All right? That's where we're at. You're not through though. We're going to keep you going.
He said we're going to work you.
Yeah, we're going to work you, man.
Well, you fellas got to leave right now?
Yeah, they got to be back at 3:45.
Okay.
So they got about 30 minutes to drive.
Okay. So is there any of y'all before you split got any questions for me? Anything you want to say? Anything? Anybody?
Thank you for your time.
No, hey, I'm here for y'all. Let me do this. My email is kevin@kevinpowell.net. Kevin@kevinpowell.net. P like Paul, O-W-E-L-L. Kevin@kevinpowell.net. If you're on Twitter, Kevin_Powell. Let me say this other thing. Going forward, and something that Karen did that I appreciate it. Start carrying a notebook pad with y'all. You never know where you're going to be at, and please start taking notes. Even if you got to take notes into your phone or your handheld, you got to get in the habit of taking notes when we in sessions like this with each other. All right? I believe in y'all, and I appreciate y'all, and I respect y'all, because y'all are geniuses. All right? I expect great things out of all y'all that are here today. All right? Serious. God bless y'all, brothers. All right? Peace.